Good evening. Before we get started tonight, we have a very special presentation. So I'd like to ask Zach Wyke and the Joshi family to come forward, please. Over the past 10 years, the Joshi family, along with UES, has sponsored our fireworks out at Rotary Park. We really appreciate that, and I think they have a presentation for this year. So I will let them take it over.
Mayor and council members, I and my family has been living here before most of you are here then. It's since 1968, and there was no stoplight anywhere, and so we have seen the community grow, and we've been so fortunate to be part of this community, and it's a great honor to participate in the celebration of 4th of July. Thank you.
And who do you have with you?
Yeah, these are my grandsons, and I thought it'd be a nice experience for them to see the session and also be a part of this opportunity.
Thank you very much. And with that, we have a check here. Zach. It's amazing to have a family step up and support us like this, as this family has over the years.
One more.
One more. Camera problems. Thank you very much. That's a nice way to start the meeting. We'd like to call this meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Kern.
Here.
Councilmember Dewar. Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Literal. Councilmember Schwartz.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bales.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here. Do I have a motion?
Move to excuse council members Dewar and Literal. Second.
I have a motion and a second to excuse Councilmember Dewar and Literal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? If you'd all stand, we'll have the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing just for a moment. A little prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today. Grant us wisdom, understanding, and guidance as we deliberate matters affecting our community. May our decisions be just and beneficial for all. Amen. Thank you. And we have an agenda before us.
Move we approve the agenda, Your Honor.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have minutes from May 20th, work session.
Move to approve work session minutes for May 20th.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the May 20th work session minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we have a regular session minutes for June 10th.
Move to approve regular session minutes for June 10th. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for the June 10th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Abstentions?
Aye.
And the minutes for the June 17th work session.
Move that we approve the work minutes of the June 17th meeting, Your Honor.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the work session minutes for June 17th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. Mr. Wyke, you get to come back up.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Waiting on our presentation to load. Well, we've had several work sessions talking about the park levy. Is it? Give it a minute to load. You ought to love technology. Yeah. I do some stand-up comedy, but I'm not very good at that. So, okay, here we are. So tonight's agenda, just to go over briefly a little bit of our current department environment, touch on funding for 2025 and beyond, as well as an overview of some different levy options. So highlighting some really interesting data over the last 5 years, which the last time we passed a parks levy was in 2019. So this data reflects some of the changes that our department has seen and the growth that we have exhibited in the last 5 years. In 2019, our senior center membership was at 1,525 members, and in the last 5 years, we've grown to almost 2,250 members. A lot of that thanks to the growth with the Silver Sneakers and Renew Active memberships. We've also seen transportation trips increase from just shy of 10,000 to 11,440, and wheelchair trips increased from 695 to 1,435. We've seen program registrations across the senior center and all recreation registrations increase from 4,500 to over 10,000 in a 5-year period. We've had patrons on a wait list grow from 65 in one whole calendar year in 2019 to over 600 last year. And program revenue with the increase in service level has increased from $348,000 a year to $462,000 a year over a 5-year period. So you can see in 5 years, we've really seen quite a bit of growth within the demand for recreation services within the city of Beavercreek. And this is without any increases to our staffing levels. Our staff has done a phenomenal job in meeting the demands of our community. And as you can see, there's still a lot of demand that we're not able to meet, especially in regards to the senior center. Of those 636 on the wait list that weren't able to get into programs, the majority of those are at the senior center. And a lot of those are programs, such as the Mothering Day Tea or the Easter lunch, those type of events where we're just at capacity for those events. Also want to highlight a few other numbers. This year, summer day camp, we had 600 registrations for our summer day camp. Last year, summer concert series had over 1,700 attendees, and I think this year we're on pace to exceed that. 4th of July last year, we had over 8,000 attendees at our Rotary Park 4th of July celebration. It's a lot of people in the park. And Winter Welcome at Wardinger Park saw over 1,500 attendees. It's just showing the data of how much our parks and recreation are beloved by our community, how much it's being utilized, and showcase the awesome work that our staff does to meet the needs of our community. Looking at some of the park improvement projects over the last 5 years, we've replaced 8 of our 16 playgrounds, living on the theme of taking care of what we have. We've installed 6 pickleball courts at Dominic Lafino Park, expanded parking lots at Shout Park and the Senior Center to help with overflow parking. We repaved the roadway within Rotary Park, replaced 3 pedestrian bridges, replaced the fishing dock with an ADA fishing dock at Dominic Lafino Park, and developed numerous trails and walking paths within our 24 parks. We've done a lot in 5 years. As I said, in 2019, we passed, it was our last park levy, we passed an additional .3 mil levy that was tacked on to the first park levy that was passed in 2014, which was a .9 mil levy. So we have 1.2 mils dedicated to park funding. Our park recreation and culture budget is fully funded through this year, but we are at the end of that 5-year levy cycle. Funding for 2025 and beyond, if we do not get additional funding, expenditures are projected to exceed revenue by approximately $250,000 next year. And that's with no increase in operations, capital, or matching grant money. There's essentially 4 options that our staff can look at moving forward into 2025 and beyond. And that's an additional subsidy from the general fund. Remember, Parks already receives a subsidy of $240,000 annually from the general fund. Authorize a reduction in the fund balance from 20% down to approximately 10%. A reduction in capital and service level, which as I described last week in work session, we have about $300,000 a year in capital money that goes for capital improvements, ADA improvements, and capital equipment. So that pretty much depletes most of our capital for next year. We're looking at several different levy options. We've had several work sessions where we've talked about different park levy options, and to bring forward to you those three options this evening. Option one would be to maintain our current operations only. It's a 0.25 mil levy. That levy maintains current park levy operations. It does not provide any additional staffing to cover increased utilization that I just shared with that data at the beginning of this presentation, and minimal changes to commodities and contractual services, and no additional money for capital improvements or equipment replacement. Option two would provide a recommended current and future service level increase and add additional money for capital improvements. Option two is a 0.49 mil levy that would allow us to hire 3 additional staff members. And also allow us to slightly increase capital equipment, capital improvement, and ADA improvement dollars moving forward. Option three is a 0.73 mil levy. Again, like option two, it allows us to hire 3 additional staff members and a higher level of increased capital for ADA, capital equipment, and capital improvements. All 3 of these options do not include funding for Springhouse Park. That is one thing to note. So looking at these 3 options again, all 3 will maintain our current level of operations, but options 2 and options 3 will hire 3 additional employees for our staff. One being a transportation coordinator for our senior center to help with the increase in demand for our transportation program, and 2 operators to help maintain our 24 parks. Added capital equipment in option 2 is on average of an additional $59,000 per year, and option 3 would be an additional $70,000 per year. That first year would be an increase of about $135,000 to allow us to outfit those new staff members with the equipment they need, and then additional money on top of the current $90,000 we budget annually. In option 2, it's an additional $40,000 a year. In option 3, it's an additional $75,000 a year, in addition to what we currently budget for capital equipment replacement. It also increases in contractual commodities for options 2 and 3 to $22,000 additional each year. Option 2 allows us to budget an additional $50,000 annually for ADA upgrades and improvements within our parks and facilities. Option 3 would allow us to increase that by $150,000 annually. This goes back to our 10-year ADA transition plan, which we're in year 4. There was a $1.9 million price tag on making all of the ADA upgrades within our parks and facilities. Not all of those are mandatory, but there's a lot of them, especially when you get into restrooms and accessible walkways, accessible playgrounds, that are higher priority than others. But there is a very large backlog of ADA improvements that are needed within our parks and facilities. And finally, it adds additional money. Option 2 adds an additional $90,000 on average per year for capital improvements within our parks. And option 3 is an additional $250,000 per year in capital improvements. I want to highlight on option 2, that is an average $90,000 per year. The first year would be a $250,000 increase to capital improvement to replace the playground at Dominic Lafino Park. Each additional year after that would be an additional $50,000 per year. That $90,000 is an average over 5 years. So again, that was a highlight of our current environment within our Parks, Recreation, and Culture Department, as well as some different options moving forward into 2025. Later this evening, you'll have before you 3 resolutions seeking to place these millages onto, or certify them to send them to the county auditor to certify the millage, to then in the future vote whether or not you want to choose to place one of these levy options on the ballot. I'd be happy to help answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Zach. I think you really presented the challenges that we face, and Beavercreek Parks does an outstanding job, as you presented tonight, and I know that our citizenry support our parks and want to see they're improved, and we're trying to find a middle ground to do that correctly. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. It was a good presentation. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is ordinances, resolutions, and PUDs. Ordinance 24-13.
Ordinance 24-13, an ordinance to authorize a speed limit of 35 miles per hour upon all portions of Swigert Road and to amend ordinance 80-50.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. As you're aware, during the public involvement process for the proposed residential development on the Turner property along Swigert Road, there were several requests from people who were testifying during those meetings requesting that we look at the speed limit along Swigert Road. We've completed that analysis, we being the engineering division and the police department. We looked at three major areas, one being existing speeds out there, two being the geometry of the roadway and other factors that might limit speeds, and three, crashes. And just jump into that here. Just for some background, the applicable section of the Ohio Revised Code for speed limits is 4511.21. If you go to that section of the ORC and you compare the class of roadway that Swigert Road is, you'll see it specifies a speed limit of 35 miles an hour. And that's how it would have been if council wouldn't have taken any action back in the early days of the city. However, with ordinance 80-50, City Council elected to raise that speed limit from 35 to 40 miles an hour, and since that time, it's stayed at 40 miles an hour. Again, the first component that we looked at were existing speeds. Now, we completed a fresh round of traffic counts in May of this year, and for what it's worth, we had a volume of a little bit over 4,100 vehicles, which is fairly consistent. I had a count from 2017 that was pretty close to that, as well as a count from, I believe, 2021 that was also in that same range. So traffic volumes are staying fairly flat on that piece of Swigert Road. As far as speeds, our traffic counters not only collect number of cars, but also speed data. And with that, we found an average speed of 38 miles an hour and an 85th percentile speed of 45 miles an hour. And kind of the reason why we look at that 85th percentile speed, a lot of times when you do these studies, the assumption is that 85% of the drivers will drive at a reasonable and safe speed for the conditions. And typically you want to target the speed limit to be within 5 miles an hour of that 85th percentile speed. So this one component of what we looked at tends to support the existing 40 mile an hour speed limit. But as I said, there are other factors that we'll get into in just 1 second here. Looking at the geometry of the roadway, as you know, there's a very, very sharp curve right in the middle of the segment between where it enters the city and when it leaves the city. In addition to that, the lanes are very narrow out there. Shoulders really are non-existent or very narrow. A lot of the grading alongside the roadway doesn't permit vehicle recovery, where if somebody goes off that narrow shoulder in some sections, they don't have much of a chance to recover from that mistake they made. And so those are all factors that we look into. And again, these would tend to support the lowering of the speed limit to the 35 miles an hour. I should mention, too, there were some, I believe, some mentions about the intersections out there. Just for what it's worth, the intersections are split between jurisdiction between the city and Greene County. So we always look at upgrades for safety. Safety is very important, obviously. We always try to upgrade for that. But anything we do out there would need to be coordinated again with the Greene County engineer. And for what it's worth, over the years, we've done some things to help increase the visibility of those stop signs. We've installed larger stop signs. We've doubled up on the stop signs, stop aheads, always stops, et cetera. But we'll continue to evaluate crashes at those intersections and see if some more upgrades could be worked in there. With crash history, I'll turn it over to Chief Fiorita.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. As we moved into this, as we discussed the last council meeting, I went over some of this basic and same information. We did a 5-year crash history review where I went back 5 years from the date I did this, which would have been the end of May. And as the engineer mentioned, the intersection on the north side of that is split between us and Beavercreek Township. The southern intersection is us, Beavercreek Township, and Sugar Creek Township. So what we did is I pulled up the crashes from the Ohio State Highway Patrol as well, with involving these groups right here. And we had a total of 31 crashes in a 5-year look-back period. And excessive speed did not seem to be a major factor in all of those, or very many of those, actually, I'm sorry. And several crashes where vehicles were traveling too fast simply for the roadway conditions due to inclement weather, wet roads, snowy roads, icy roads. And I know that's difficult to see, but that outlines the 13 crashes that we dealt with. And as I mentioned in the last meeting, of those, majority of these were one vehicle crashes. 4 of them were two vehicle crashes, and 4 of those vehicle crashes involved two vehicles where they were intersection related, and we only had one that we investigated that was a two vehicle crash where they had a Mark Lanes violation where they met in the middle of the roadway. So the majority of the two vehicle crashes were intersection related at either end of that roadway. Then the majority of the other crashes were fair to control. And we did not have any speed violations we cited for. We did have one OVI, and the remainders were just simply fair to control. Maintain reasonable control of your vehicle. That map just indicates the sharp curve there is at the top where the number 4 is. We've had 4 vehicle crashes there at the intersection because the other intersection is not ours at all. We stopped shy of the actual intersection itself, our jurisdiction. So you can see there were several crashes in the sharp curve up there that the city engineer was mentioning. Then we did have a couple of crashes in the minor curve there on the south end, and then one down almost outside of our jurisdiction. And that, again, is just our 5 crashes that we investigated, or the 13 crashes we investigated, I'm sorry. As well as we have the State Highway Patrol information here, and of their 16 crashes, 3 of them, the driver that was at fault received a unsafe speed citation. I did not look into those specifically, so I don't know if they were going too fast over the speed limit or they were too fast for the road conditions. There is a difference there. So of their crashes, though, again, the majority of them were one vehicle crashes. Then they had they've had a couple of crashes where the vehicles met in the roadway, as well as intersection-related crashes. Yes. What is intersection-related? Sure. What that means is one of two things happened. Both vehicles were stopped, and one when they should not have, and they met in the middle. Or they could have been what's called an assured clear distance ahead accident, where somebody was stopped in an intersection and the car behind them did not stop. And it also can mean where someone violated the stop sign.
Would it be an obstructed view? Would an obstructed view at an intersection qualify as well, or are we looking at specifically those 3?
I can't
types of
speak
accidents?
specifically that from an engineering side, but being out there and seeing it, they're small intersections.
Okay.
So they're pretty tight, is what I mean. You can see what's right around you. You don't have to look
Perfect.
very far.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then, as I mentioned with the State Patrol, they had 3 unsafe speed accidents of the 16 they investigated in that 5-year look-back period as well. This is data that we put out monthly in our monthly report with crash and enforcement summary. It's very simple. It just basically states where we have the majority of our crashes. And Swigert Road has not, I'd have to go back and look if it's ever been on here, because this typically is our high traffic flow intersections, as mentioned there, North Fairfield Road, Colonel Glenn, Dayton, Xenia. And then how we follow up with traffic enforcement related activities, which could be a traffic stop, that could be a citation being issued, a warning being issued, and so forth. So, but what is important here is, based on all the information I have looked into the city engineer's office and listening to our citizens, the reduction of the speed limit to 35 may help decrease some of those crashes, especially those single vehicle crashes, which the majority of them, as the city engineer mentioned, the roadway conditions, the width of the roadway and so forth. And when you do drive through there, it's tight. That's my unofficial opinion. But if the speed limit is reduced 35, then additional education and enforcement efforts will need to take place. That does pose a challenge for us as the police department, because there's really not a place to sit off the side of the road, because there's not much of a side of the road to conduct radar and laser activities. So it would be, in a sense, going back and forth in the use of the motorcycle unit to be out there, which they have a little bit more room to sit off in a safe area. So that is my summary, and I don't know if the city engineer had anything further to add. Okay. Okay. Any questions?
I guess I have a question or a comment. It seems like 13 crashes in that little stretch of road, to me, seems kind of like a lot, given the traffic volume. I mean, I see your highest crashes, but those are Fairfield Road and Stavenzina Road that have thousands and thousands and thousands of cars. So I guess I just want to say I echo your sentiment on reducing the speed limit couldn't hurt.
And I'd like to add of those, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier or not, but 7 of those were weather-related, inclement weather, where there was icy or snow of the 13. And then 1 was an OVI, and that was a very nice, if I remember, yes, it was a very nice sunny afternoon. So it had nothing to do with that, so.
Chief, I do have a question.
Yes.
Do we issue citations for every accident that we respond to?
No.
Is the data that you have provided only citations issued, or does the data encompass all accidents that have occurred on that?
It's every accident that we investigated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Correct.
Anything else?
Your Honor.
No, we can't do that. Thank you very much. This is an ordinance, so, and it's a first reading, but since it's an ordinance, we do have public input. If there's anyone out in the audience would like to speak to this, please come forward, state your name and your address.
I tried.
Hello, Dave Sobchak, 3536 Swigert Road. I've been the one championing this, and I appreciate you all putting it on, looking at it. The one thing I do want to call out in Mr. Mormon's data is he actually did that study in front of my house. I'm 3 houses away from the stop sign, so when you're seeing that 85th percentile is 45 miles per hour, excuse me, that's 3 houses away from a stop sign. So keep that in mind when we're thinking about this. Like, yes, it shows it's just only 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, but that's 3 houses away from a stop sign, not 20, 30, 40 houses a mile down the road, 3 houses away from the stop sign. But appreciate your time and attention to this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to mention that, that came up during Planning Commission where I had a traffic count from 2022 in one spot. So what I did this time, I actually did counts in 2 different locations along Swigert Road. I did one in the midpoint between South Fairfield Road and the curve, and another one beyond the curve on down the road. So I actually have 2 locations where I took those counts, and the data was comparable between those 2 locations, just for what that's worth.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I ask a quick question? Sorry, are we done with the?
It's probably still out there, so we just.
My bad. Sorry.
Is there any other public input? All right, we'll close the public portion of that. And Councilman Garcia, you had a question?
I apologize. I didn't have my cheat sheet in front of me and where we were in the order. Just out of curiosity, would it be an option to reduce it even further to 30 miles an hour? Just because, I mean, it's currently 45?
Sure, it's currently 40 miles
40?
an hour, but again, that section of the Ohio Revised Code wouldn't permit you to lower
That's
it
nice.
beyond 35.
Yep. Thank you. That's what I wanted to clarify. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? Have a motion?
Your Honor, a motion to move ordinance 24-13 to the second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Need a roll call. It's an ordinance. Can do a voice vote? I thought it was, okay. We can do a voice vote. All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's move to the second reading. All right. Resolution 24-18.
Resolution. What are we on?
24-18.
B.
2418? Okay, I'm sorry, I misheard. Resolution 2418, a resolution by Beavercreek City Council determining it necessary to proceed with submitting the question of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to the electors of the city pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19 and subsection 570519H, as amended for parks and recreational purposes, which levy shall be 1/4 .25 mils, and which levy shall run for a continuing period of time, pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19, and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection therewith.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Mr. Landrum.
Yes, this is, again, Zach had given the presentation of the three options for the levy, for Parks levy. The first step in the process is to have the county auditor certify the millage amount. So this is purely just, you have three of them on here, so I won't repeat after each one, but the .25, .49, and .73 each do the exact same process. We send it to the county auditor. He sends us back a certificate stating .25 equal, we'll collect this much annually. That is the first step so that you can weigh the options at that point in July and select, if so you choose to select one of the options to place on the ballot, but you must have a certificate certified by the auditor of the millage amount before you can place anything on the ballot. So this is purely just the first step in it, and giving council three options of the certification, so you can select at a separate time.
Now, can we do these individually, or can we do they have to individual? Okay. All right. Any discussion on that?
Thanks. Sorry.
Have a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 24-18.
Second.
I have a motion to approve Resolution 24-18. All those, and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next one is 24-19.
Resolution 24-19, a resolution by Beavercreek City Council determining it necessary to proceed with submitting the question of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to the electors of the city pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19 and subsection 5705.19H, as amended for parks and recreational purposes, which levy shall be 49/100.49 mils, and which levy shall run for a continuing period of time pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19, and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection therewith.
Any discussion? As was said, this is just to get the numbers from the auditor.
Move to approve Resolution 24-19.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-19. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution 24-20.
Resolution 24-20, a resolution by Beavercreek City Council determining it necessary to proceed with submitting the question of levying an additional tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to the electors of the city pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19 and subsection 5705.19H, as amended for parks and recreational purposes, which levy shall be 73/100.73 mils, and which levy shall run for a continuing period of time pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 5705.19, and requesting the county auditor to certify matters in connection therewith.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on this? Have a motion?
Your Honor, I'd move to approve Resolution 24-20.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-20. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Now, Resolution 24-22. Chief, is that you? After he reads it, she reads it.
Resolution 24-22, to authorize the application for the Bulletproof Vest Partnership 2024 Federal Grant Program on behalf of the Beavercreek Police Department.
Good evening once again. This is our annual Bulletproof Vest grant that we apply for. We have been doing since the year of 2000 through the federal grant system to where we basically pay half of what we're allotted. This year we're requesting 9 vests at a replacement cost of $14,155.47, and we will have budgeted $7,077.74, and that's we are paying half, and the federal government's paying the other half. And since 2000, we've actually received $82,000, a little over $82,000 worth of this, and we're buying our vests, so we do greatly appreciate that. And this is just, staff is recommending that council this evening adopt this resolution, allowing us to make the application of this federal grant opportunity once again.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I can't think of a few things more important than this for our police department, so thank you for looking into the grant opportunity.
Welcome.
If nothing else, I would move to approve Resolution 24-22.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-22. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Chief. Next one up is Resolution 24-24, US 35 resurfacing project.
Resolution 24-24, a resolution giving consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation to proceed with pavement rehabilitation and repair with minor bridge work on US 35 within the City of Beavercreek Municipal Corporation limits, PID number 96680.
Mr. Mormon.
Yes, good evening. The Ohio Department of Transportation, they're planning a project in 2025. It'll encompass the resurfacing of the section of US 35 you see highlighted there on the drawing on the screen. There's also some repairs to some of the bridges along that stretch of US 35. And it also includes resurfacing of the ramps at North Fairfield Road and the exit ramp to 835 as well. Again, the entire cost of this project is going to be paid by the Ohio Department of Transportation. However, with them working within the city limits, it's oftentimes required that we pass a resolution giving them permission to construct their project within the limits of the city of Beavercreek. Happy to answer any questions.
Do you have any maintenance that you have to do on that section of state highway? Are you reimbursed by the state for that?
We are not. Technically, US 35 is the city's responsibility.
All right, okay.
So it's a good thing for us that ODOT's funding all
I
this.
understand.
Which year did you say?
2025.
Next year.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed in the resolution that the city is responsible for 100% of the cost that we want to do over and beyond the resurfacing.
Correct.
We've got a lot of nice features there at North Fairfield Road and so forth. Is there anything that we're planning?
No, we're not going to ask anything over and above to be part of this contract. No, there's nothing that the city would ask for that we'd have to fund as part of this.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 24-24.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 24-24. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Chief, liquor license, stockholder change for Kohler Foods. Getting your steps in tonight.
Yes, I am. Good evening once again. This is a stockholder change of stock ownership at any time in the state of Ohio when there's a liquor permit that's already been established, and the ownership changes 51% or greater. The state of Ohio Department of Liquor Control requires this to take place. So we have received notification of a request for a change in stock ownership of a D1, D2, and D3 liquor permit at Kohler Foods Incorporated, located at 3500 Pentagon Boulevard, Suite 100, here in Beavercreek. We've completed the records checks that are required by the Ohio Department of Commerce Division of Liquor Control, and we had no concerns whatsoever, and staff is recommending this application request move forward without comment.
Motion to accept without comment.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you, Chief. Unless I'm wrong, it's council time. I'm going to start with Councilman Curran.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had the privilege, as many of you participated in carographs being identified here as the library, the name of the library in Beavercreek would be named after her. Outstanding lady, has done so much in the community, and I think it really, really signifies something to have her name on that library. So that was had a nice crowd there, and it was significant. Secondly, attended the business links at Beavercreek High School. Had food trucks there and a lot of conversation. Nice warm day. And thirdly, I had the privilege to hear Senator Hackett speak at Rotary, giving us kind of a bird's eye view of the budget and also some of the surrounding areas. So it was really good to hear from him. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Schwartz.
Thank you, Mayor. Speaking of roadway projects, I had the pleasure of testing out the new ramp this weekend at Trebine and 35 after you figure out which direction you're supposed to be turning. So the project is coming along very quickly, in my opinion, for a typical highway project. I think it's going to be a tremendous asset once it's completed. But definitely, if you're traveling in that area, you may want to try to research the traffic pattern as it's not really marked very well. I had the opportunity to attend the Flag Day ceremony over at the fairgrounds for the retirement of the flags with the mayor. What a tremendous event. I mean, I've been there multiple times, but every time I go, once the flags are beginning their retirement and they're lit on fire, it's just so moving. It brings me to tears every time. So if you haven't had the opportunity to go do that, I highly encourage it. And that being said, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the 4th of July. We don't have a meeting before the 4th of July, which just seems crazy to me. The summer is flying by. But I did see this morning that there is still time, so if you have not registered to be in the parade and you would like to be in the parade, go to our website and you can register there. And that is all I have. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Garcia.
Thank you. So I had a great time with everybody at Captain Sumner's retirement party. We had a really great turnout, new venue, I think, for the first time for the officers, and did they pack that room? So it was nice. But otherwise, looking forward to a less stifling 4th of July, if that's possible, and having a good time. So everyone enjoy.
Thank you very much. Vice Mayor Bales.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Today, the mayor and I and Councilwoman Garcia, for a brief moment, got to attend, along with city staff, kind of a briefing on the age-friendly community grant that MVRPC is offering again. And so we talked with the agency along with Beavercreek Township and learned some more information. We knew a lot of it from when we discussed it last time, but we're planning to bring that up to council for a more in-depth discussion at our July council retreat. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys all a heads up on that. I too want to congratulate Carol Graff, completely deserving of that library dedication, and she did such a fantastic job talking about her, love for books and the importance of reading. And so I'm happy to see that. I want to thank the golf course as well as Mr. Mormon for dealing with a cart path issue that kind of came up late last week. And so that was a good resolution, and I appreciate your swift action helping the contractor with that new housing development kind of navigate that. Speaking of golf, the Golf Advisory Board met last week. The bunker renovation project that they have scheduled for this year will begin very shortly. Their cart path renovation will begin this fall, and then some improvements to the clubhouse facade will also begin just a little bit later this summer. So a lot's happening. Rounds of golf are up, and so greens fee revenues and everything else are looking pretty good at the golf course. I wanted to congratulate Apogee. The company just had their grand opening on Commons Boulevard last week, I guess it was. Amazing building, great space they've renovated behind the mall there. And I'm glad they're there. I don't understand what they do because they do things that just keep us safe, but I was happy they invited us. I too want to give Captain Sumner best wishes on his retirement, and his history with the city of Beavercreek and his shoes will be challenging to fill, but I wish him the best. And also want to wish everybody a happy Independence Day. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Well, I attended pretty much everything that they've attended here. In addition, I had a couple of things. I went to the change of responsibility for the command chiefs out at the 88th Air Base Wing. Gentleman that left, Command Chief Master Sergeant Lloyd Morales, has done a great job out there for the last 2 years. I met him at a Boy Scout. He was a speaker at the Eagle Scout where Vice Mayor Bale's son got his Eagle. So that was good. And he's been being replaced by Command Chief Master Sergeant Tessa Fontaine, and I know she'll do an outstanding job. Also had the opportunity that same day to fly on the C-17. That was an amazing trip. I can't thank MVR or the Miami Valley Military Affairs Association for that. It was really good. I attended another ribbon cutting for Medicare Resource Center at the mall. It's the second one I've attended for them when they built it back in 20, and they've grown so much that they've got to double their space. So I was really glad to see that. If anybody is 65 or getting close to it, go visit them. It's a good opportunity. They really do a good job out there. Alan and Hope Zins do. They've really come a long ways with that. So I went to an artificial intelligence symposium sponsored by Alta Fiber this past week. That's a scary thing. This AI coming out, it's here and it's not going away. But we got briefed on ethics and some of the different things about how it's going to be taking over a lot of customer service calls on the phone because it can answer it and it can respond, and it's amazing the way they're doing this. And then I too attended the renaming of the Greene County Public Library for Carol Graff, and those of us been around Beavercreek for a long time know Carol. I mean, Carol is an institution in the city and the township as far as that goes. She's been involved. If you want a history lesson on Beavercreek, call Carol. She knows it. So that's all I have. Thank you. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few announcements.
Mike. It's not on.
It is now. Yeah, just a few announcements. If along Grange Hall Road, if you're seeing some earthwork going on, it is across the street from Springhouse Park, and some of it actually is on Springhouse Park because the water issue starts there, flows across Grange Hall. That is our largest stormwater project that the city has ever undertaken. This is using ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan funds, for this project, a $2.1 million project that will impact those in the Willowcrest subdivision, Woodhaven subdivision, that will help out their water issues that has been around prior to the city even being a city. So that's what's going on there. A lot of people are calling asking what is going on, but that is a stormwater project. Also, too, down closer to the green off of Vineland, I'd like to have showed you some pictures of beforehand. This project's not done, but this is a stormwater as well. There's places along there in people's backyards where it was easily 7, 8, 10 feet deep, exposed water lines, exposed electrical lines, where erosion had just almost taken sheds, fences, people's yards. And there's a video of this one online on Facebook and on our website. You can go and get a drone view of this whole channel, what's happening. It's not done yet, but this, as you can see, is part of the stonework that will save these properties and save the erosion for many, many, many years. Again, this was ARPA funds to the tune of $1.25 million. Again, using dollars, putting our money where our mouth is, that the city has said for many years that we do not have money for stormwater, and so therefore we dedicated much of the ARPA funding towards two major stormwater projects. So again, I know we've heard feedback from the residents along Vineland and they are more than happy and thankful that the city is able to do this. Summer concert series, it's been well attended, been a little hot, but it's been well attended. The next Sunday, June 30th, enjoy the music from the band 5. So again, this is at Lafino Park from 7 to 8 p.m. On Grange Hall Road. Come out and enjoy the live music. Been mentioned, July 4th. Yes, it's coming right there. Enjoy the parade. We still are taking applications for your groups and individuals. Go to our website and you can hit the July 4th and find the application. Also at the park that night, we're going to have live music again, so please come out and enjoy the live music. The food trucks galore. So if you like food trucks, here's your opportunity. And as well as, again, the Josie family fireworks show at 10 o'clock. And we thank them very much for supporting and being the main sponsor for this. And other than that, I echo Vice Mayor Bales. Have a happy Independence Day.
Thank you very much. Citizen comments. Anyone that would like to address council on any subject, come forward, state your name and address. Don't everybody jump at once. All right, we'll close that portion, and we have a motion.
Mayor, I move to enter into executive session pursuant to Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code for the purpose of consideration of the appointment, employment, promotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, and preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees.
We have a motion and a second to go to executive session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Schwartz.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bales.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Kern.
Yes.
Mayor Adams.
Yes. No decision will be made coming out of this, but we will come back to adjourn the meeting, but there won't be any business done, so you're free to leave. Thank you.
Do you have any more water?